Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Patient First Podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm having myself a lollipop, which is amazing, and you will soon learn why. We have a fantastic guest today that I've known for, well, it's probably a decade now. Dr. Mohamed Harunani, who's a graduate of the Northwestern University Dental School and has served in several roles in private practice and group practice that is minimizing his impact on the profession for sure. He's served as many roles in organized dentistry, including being the treasurer for AGD for 4 years. He also holds several fellowships and received many recognitions, including AGD's Albert Borush Award, a titan industry. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohamed Harunani, for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I've just been served for dentistry.
Well, you have been, like you said, you're a phenomenal like servant to dentistry, doing lots of work, and you have a new project which we spoke a little bit about. I don't know that much. I'm so excited to learn more about it. But this lollipop that I started the podcast with, which it's the first time I've brought candy to the podcast, and probably a lot of people are thinking, well, why is a dentist having a lollipop on the podcast right now? So could you talk a little bit about Dream Candy, how you got into it and what it is?
So
I'll sit
this is
back and enjoy it.
this is an avant-garde tasty treat that took 40 years. It was 40 years in the making. So I grew up in an island in Africa, and I came here and I studied dental school. When I started dental school, I noticed that it's really interesting that it was normal for us to have people with 8 or 10 restorations compared to in Africa, you barely had 1 or 2. Started to make me think about why is that going on? What's going on? And as I kind of went through education and all the training, various different things you go through, realized that food was a big problem, and we were not really addressing the real issue, which is the pH and acidity. And so we needed a way that we could know that the patient's going to follow up, going to do what we tell them to do because they're enjoying doing it. So that's led to the whole concept of Dream. Dream is basically a way that we can not only reduce the acidity in the mouth, but also help provide all the building blocks of remineralization so that the patients can benefit.
Really think about it that way. But one of my favorite patients that I had was a professor who's from India, and he came to our practice as as a new patient, and because he had a toothache, and it turned out he had a cavity and a bunch of cavities, and he asked the question. He said, "Why when I came here to like I've never had cavities. I grew up in India, never had a cavity once." And we started talking about it. I said, "Well, do you have a lot of sugar?" And he said, "I eat ice cream every day." And I said, "Well, there you go." Yeah, we don't think about it. If you grow up in the US, everybody knows that our diet affects our, caries in the mouth. But we don't really think about what we can do about it. So could you talk a little bit about how Dream works so that it does prevent caries?
Right. So when we look at the mouth and we look at dentistry in general, there's basically 3 causes of acidity. You've got one from the plaque, which basically takes sugar and carbohydrates, converts it to lactic acid, and so then you have acid right on the teeth. We've pretty much focused on that primarily. We tell our patients to floss and brush and do all that stuff. Well, but there's 2 other things. There's a lot of patients with GERD where you've got acidity coming up. Plus, you've got a lot of foods and drinks. I mean, how many of our patients are sitting there with Mountain Dew or Gatorade? And this is especially a worse thing for people that are into sports because they're drinking a lot of monsters and sports drinks, etc. Sports drinks generally have a lot of citric acid. And now, as we know, citric acid or anything with lemon citric acid has not only acidic, which is bad, but it's also a great chelating agent. That's why we use it in perio, for example. Being that it's a chelating agent, it selectively removes calcium. So it's a double whammy when you really look at it. And most of the sports drinks have it. So then we started to think, okay, go back to 40 years ago, looking at all the stuff, to start to say, okay, what do we need to do? So wanted to create a treat that patients would enjoy and it would last a long time. So you've got exposure. And so initially, when you start enjoying the candy, it's got a pH of around 8. And so what it does, it neutralizes the acidity in the mouth. And as we know, remineralization cannot occur in an acidic environment. So it changes the environment, creates it more alkaline so that it's more conducive to repair. So not only does it protect the tooth, but it provides a conducive environment for repair. And then as you enjoy the candy, you'll notice that there's some texture to it, as you can probably feel. That texture is basically an encapsulation. And so as you are enjoying it, it cleanses your tongue. And as it's doing that, it's also you are dissolving the encapsulation. And that encapsulation releases bioavailable calcium and phosphate, which are basically the building blocks of tooth repair. And therefore, it is benefiting the patients in neutralization and also helping them get a stronger tooth.
It's great. They are phenomenal. They taste great. I don't know how you pulled that off, but nicely done, my friend.
It took us
It's very good.
5 years to get the right taste profile. In fact, we just perfected mint. So currently we have butterscotch, vanilla, and chocolate that's on the market, and we've got mint that's going to be coming up. As you can see, we've got two different models. We've got little button heart candies, and we've got the tooth-shaped lollipops for kids really enjoy the lollipops rather than the button candy, but the button candy are convenient because I have in my pocket. It's a lot easier that way. For us, it's much more convenient than walking around with the stick. So kind of making it so it's convenient for everybody. And then
Well, I'm a child at heart, and so I'm a lollipop fan, I guess.
aren't
No,
we
it's great.
all?
Yes. So you've been I mean, this has been working for 40 years, and is it widely available, or are you selling mostly online?
We're just starting to launch this, so we're still building all the background material and stuff. But we were actually at a show, and it was a 3-day show, and we had 8,000 samples, and they were gone by the second day. So obviously, there's a lot of demand, and we did not expect the level of demand that's out there. And what we're hearing. So there's a lot of people that kind of see this as when you look at the total cost of it is less than a filling a year, and for a whole year's use, we're recommending it after breakfast and after dinner because most of the time in breakfast you're drinking orange juice, which is very acidic, and then some sugary something. So when you look at it, you've got a lot of acidity there, got a lot of sugar. So this kind of neutralizes, gets all the sugar and the acid out of your mouth and puts your mouth in a much better situation. And then also again after dinner, because although we like to think everybody brushes their teeth at night, but many don't. So when we look at that, that's another reason why we kind of thought about that. So we have a website where our manufacturer is Dr. John's Healthy Sweets. They are a great products. Many of our dental practices already order from them, but it's the dream candy from them. So you go to www.drjohns.com/pages/dream, and you'll be able to get to it. So it's a great way for not only to, I mean, when you think about it, you have these little toys which are literally choke hazards for kids that we give them, or we give them something else. Why not give them a treat that's going to help them and not benefit our patients? Plus, one of the things I've struggled with in dentistry, how many times do we put watches? We have little incipient lesions and we put watches. What are we watching do? Get bigger? And so if you're doing that, I kind of look at that as sort of supervised neglect. We really should be recommending something, some sort of a Riemann protocol. And this can be part of that because it's not only protecting the patient, but also hopefully helping them rebuild It's got all the basic building blocks to rebuild. The other patient I kind of think about is somebody in a nursing home or somebody who's got a lot of crown and bridge or a lot of restorative because they've got miles and miles and miles of margins. It also helps those patients. And the last category is people with dry mouth. So when you look at the number of patients that are on blood pressure medicine or antidepressants and other medicines that cause dry mouth, that's a tremendous number. And especially if they're bedridden or they can't get anywhere, how many times do you have a patient come in with some sort of a drink in their mouth? Those patients are going to get a dramatically fast breakdown in their mouths. So this is a great way for them to help protect their teeth. And we're in the tooth business, helping patients protect their teeth and create long-term oral health. And this is a great adjunct to helping our patients do that.
Yeah. I'm going to double click on that and just basically repeat it because I think it's important. I think obviously anybody can benefit from
Right.
this, but I want to the three cases that you mentioned, I think are very thoughtful. Number one, watch lesions. I totally agree with you. That's one of my pet peeves in the industry. So we're watching this. Well, watching it get bigger, or we're going to do something about it. So absolutely, nursing homes. Oh my gosh! I mean, for the patients that are listening that have a family member in a nursing home, the oral care is abysmal. Let's just say what it is. You can try to do what you can with electric toothbrushes. However, having any adjuncts like Dream Candy is I think is very effective. And then also people with xerostomia, dry mouth, whatever we can do to help those because we've all every dentist has seen the destruction that can do. So I just want to repeat that people listening have any know people with that. I mean, I think it's important. Those three cases are very important to focus on. I totally agree. Well, and I want to talk about before we. Oh, sorry, you're going to say something.
I said one other thing is that, if you notice the lollipops, they're tooth shaped. And the whole thing behind that was how often do we have kids running around drinking and sipping Kool-Aid all day? Because they want a good tasting something in their mouth. And instead of Kool-Aid, which basically has got quite a bit of citric acid and is destroying their teeth, why not give them a treat that's going to help them and if not protect their teeth long term? So to me, it's a lot easier, cheaper way to be able to help patients achieve optimum health.
It's great. And I want to talk about before we wrap up the sort of other side of this because it's something that I'm passionate about too. The giving back. This is a charitable organization too. It's a service-based business. So could you speak to that a little bit?
So I feel that I'm very fortunate. I grew up in a small island in Africa. I live a life that better than I ever dreamed of. God's granted me with everything I could have ever wanted. And so there's so many unfortunate people out there. So basically what I said, and when we were forming this company, I said what I want to do with my share of the profits, which is to go to buy food for poor people. And so whatever the 25% goes to buy food. My family, out of our own resources, takes care of all the logistics. So whatever monies that we get, because we've got other partners and stuff, I want my share to go. And so we all, as a partnership, agreed that we're going to put 25% towards buying food for poor people. Because at the end of the day, we're in a situation where we're so fortunate. We have food security, we have water security, we have security in general. There's a lot of our people, fellow human beings in the world that are struggling. And I think it's our duty to give back. So on this side, the goal is to provide oral health for people. And on the other side is also to provide food to help people live better lives. So we are improving oral health on one side of the world. On the other side of the world, we're helping people live a better life in general. So it's truly a win-win sort of a situation when you look at these. And it's rare for us to get a situation where everybody wins. And this is one of those rare occasions. And we're very proud and very fortunate to be a part of that. And it's really exciting to be a part of something like this.
Well, thank you very much. It's very exciting having you on the podcast. There's few people in dentistry that have as much of an effect on the industry as you have. And you're continuing that with Dream Candy. For everybody who's listening, go to drjohns.com/pages
Pages,
slash pages
pages,
slash dream.
dream. Yep.
And I will put a link around this podcast, obviously, for everybody who wants to order it. And one last question, I didn't specify. So, is part of the distribution strategy to have dentists distribute this candy? Is that correct?
Correct. So right
Okay.
now you can buy it. It's eventually going to be through our distributors, Henry Schein, Patterson, and all that stuff. But right now we're starting off. You can go online and get it, and then either distribute it through your office or have the patient get it directly. Just log in and reach out to us, talk to us, or you can contact Tony at Dr. Johns, or you can contact me directly. More than happy to help you answer any questions, help in any way. And so this is about helping our patients achieve a better outcome, which is really the goal of all of us going into the profession. And this is the ultimate way to give people a tasty treat, which is totally revolutionary because whenever I tell a patient, hey, how about a candy that's going to help your teeth? They like freak out. It's like you are so far out there that separates you so much from everybody else. It's a true win-win.
Well, so if you're a dentist, get some so you can give it to patients. And if you're a patient and your dentist doesn't have it, let them know so they can give it to everybody else too.
Perfect.
Dr. Harunani, thank you so much for being on the podcast. A pleasure as always.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here, and it's been an honor to serve our profession and be a part of this great venture that we're on to help people. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you do, Brian. You've been a gem of a friend and a colleague. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.